Hi, this is Mario with the Local Music Project, and I'm here with drummer and founding member of the band Anti-Flag, Pat Thetic. How's it going, Pat?
Good, Mario. Thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for being on. I just had a few questions about Anti-Flag coming up in the local music scene in Pittsburgh and just about my project as a whole. So, the first question is, what got you first interested in music?
I've always wanted to be in a band. Music is for me just sort of a vehicle to be in a band. I like the idea of working with other people. I like the aggression of music and specifically punk rock.
Yeah.
So that always connected to me. I was always interested in the politics and the ideas of punk rock. So those things all sort of came together. But the music is interesting to me, but it's really the ideas of punk rock and the being in a band and traveling around with my friends and doing that was what really got me into it. And then being a young person from Pittsburgh, there wasn't, when we listened to the radio, when we were young, all you could listen to was DVE, and I didn't really connect with that music, so it didn't really make sense to me.
Right.
But as time we started to play shows and see other people in the independent music community, and that changed my life. And then I was like, I love all this, and this is where I need to be, and this is where life makes sense to me.
So what was it like when you were first starting out with Anti-Flag in Pittsburgh?
Well, there were bands like Submachine and the Bad Genes and Osrotten and Bungee Jambo and all these great bands that were playing. And I went to those shows, and there were people that I didn't have access to in my normal life, and ideas that I didn't have access to in my normal life. So when I saw that people who believed that vegetarianism was the way to live, and that the war in Iraq that everybody was talking about was bullshit, and that's the first Gulf War. I was like, these are my people. This is where I need to be.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing time for Pittsburgh music in the late '80s, early '90s.
So
mid '90s.
You were more attracted to the ideals that the music set forth.
Absolutely. The ideas of punk rock, the nonviolence and the equality and the feminism and the economic equality. Those ideas were very very important to me as a young person, and still are today.
Yeah, and I always found that super interesting about Anti-Flag in specific. It's such an aggressive music, just hearing it, but the messages you guys put forth are so non-aggressive, non-violent. That is,
Well, they're definitely non-violent. But that's the thing is that, and that's again the thing that appealed to me about punk rock is that it was an expression of a release of energy, of release of anger and frustration, but in a way that wasn't destructive. It was in a way that was that could be proactive, and it could be empowering and not destructive. And I always thought that was amazing, because we're all angry people. We all are pissed off at the world. We're all unhappy with that whatever's going on in our lives. But punk rock was a way of saying, yeah, I'm angry, and I can let that go without beating up my girlfriend, or I don't know, your brother, or whatever, the guy on the street. There's other ways of getting rid of that frustration and anger of living in our culture that we all create.
Right. And
all are exposed to.
That's very important. So how did you, when you were first starting out, that is, before you got your first record deal, how did you record and distribute your music?
Well, it was a while ago. But
Right.
we never we're really bad musicians, and we still struggle with this today. So we went into music studios, and we would spend a lot of money, and we didn't have any money because we couldn't play very well. So the expense of being in a recording studio was very expensive.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing is going and renting recording gear and doing it ourselves, because it was cheaper that way. And we had more control, and we could play it 80 times to get it right, rather than every time we had to play the song, we could see that our money was going away. So we rented recording equipment and recorded ourselves. And then, we would make cassette tapes, and we would pass them out and sell them at shows, and we would get together some money and make a 7-inch and just sell it at shows.
Mm-hmm.
There was no real distribution. There was some, kids would have milk crates with some records in them that they would buy. They would come to Pittsburgh and buy some records and go to Cleveland and sell records at shows in Cleveland and stuff like that. So that was the most of the distribution that we were able to get as a band before we were able to get a record out, like a CD then.
Right.
But we were able to make 7 inches, and that was always an interesting thing. We'd play a show or something and get enough money together to make a 7-inch.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a arduous process for that one.
It was.
Yeah.
But again, it was that DIY ethic that was definitely at the center of it. It was nobody else cares about our music, so we're the only ones that care. So we're going to create it ourselves and do it in the way that we think is right. And that is something that is definitely part of our band and how we do things even today.
Right.
We're very frustrated when other people tell us we can't do it the way we want, so we just do it ourselves most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, and if you could tell aspiring musicians one thing, what would it be?
I would say play as much as you can everywhere you can, and play out at any event you can. Make your own events. Rent a hall yourself. Tell them that you're a gospel band and play. Because they always ask us, they're like, "What kind of music do you play?" And we're like, "We play rock music, but it's really, really easy. Easy listening sort of
Smart.
stuff."
Very
so
smart.
we always lied to people so they would let us put on shows in their basement, and pianos and stuff. There's a local music shop. They rent PAs and recording equipment and gear. They rent everything. And we used to go and rent a PA and go over to the university. They'd let us play in a room, or there were churches that would let us play, and fire halls. So we were always finding places to play shows that they'd let us put on a show. And then usually we were the last ones they'd let do a show, because then there'd be 300 kids in there and it was a mess. But we got to have a show.
Yeah.
That was the important thing.
Exactly. Okay, Pat, so basically all these questions are to get your opinion and help contribute to this project I've been coming up with. And it's still in the formative stages, but I have noticed a problem, and I found that problem was in local musicians don't have really a great way to get their music out there and to get heard by masses of people.
It's very difficult to connect the music with the people who are interested in the music.
Right, exactly.
And if you're a young local band, it's very difficult to find the people who are also interested in that kind of music.
Right. So I'm trying to solve this problem with an app I'm going to create, and basically all you have to do is you put in your zip code, and it'll play exclusively local bands that are tailored to your music preferences, which you put into the app, and it'll all be within 100-mile radius of you, and it's all local. So I just wanted to get Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts
Yeah.
on what you think or how you would improve it, what you don't like, just your
Well, I
opinion on
think
it.
it's a great idea, and I think that it's an idea that has legs as well, because it's an idea for young bands to be able to reach out to people who are interested in going to local music shows and being able to hear what local bands sound like. Because lots of times I'll look at the city paper or whatever newspaper that has the local listings, and I'll be like, oh, these bands are playing at these clubs, and I'm like, I know the clubs, so I know what kind of music it probably is.
Yeah.
But if I could then go to a website that had the bands on it, that would be great. It would be like, oh, these are the bands that are local bands, and maybe I'll go check one of these bands out.
Yeah, and you
So
get
that would definitely be good.
exactly. You get to hear what you get before you're getting it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that's one aspect of it. Also, I was talking to Jesse, our guy who helps us with all of our day-to-day lives, and how he helps us with our tour booking and everything. And he said that when we travel around, we're always looking for young bands that we like to open up the shows too.
Yeah.
And that would be a way for us to find bands that, like, if we were playing Denver in 2 weeks, and we're like, oh, it would be great to have an opener who was from Denver. We could click on that and find a local band in Denver that would be a band that we really liked the way they sounded and thought that they'd be a good fit for what we're doing. And then we give a local band a shot to play on a show where there's some people there, and we also get to help them up and have another band on the show. So there's a lot of ways that an app like yours would be able to be used, not just for local bands to find people, but also other bands to find other local bands.
Right. And could you imagine, that'd be a dream come true for a local band to get a call from Anti-Flag saying, hey, I want you guys to open up for us.
Well, absolutely. And the thing is, when we're lots of times, because it's one of the things that we like to do, because we get to see young bands. We're always looking for new bands for the record label, and we're always looking for different young bands and giving them a shot to play a show. And but lots of times we have to rely on the promoter to tell us which bands that he likes. And I've never been a fan of promoters. Mm-hmm. We always have sort of a love-hate relationship with promoters.
Yeah.
And if we could take out that middleman and say, because promoters are like, well, this band, they sell a bunch of tickets, and they, and that isn't what we're always, not necessarily what we're looking for.
Right.
If we could just find a band, we're like, oh, this band sounds great, let's have them play our show. That would be a better situation for us than having to rely on what bands the promoter likes.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. If you guys could utilize that in that way, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So having a platform that would be able to have to sort by bands demographically would be, or geographically would be, would be a very powerful thing to be able to, for many different reasons, from the bands, from the kids who want to see the bands, to other bands. It would be a benefit to a lot of people.
Right. And I will definitely keep you updated on the progress of this app, and your opinion really, really helped and matters a lot, especially for people hearing this who are local. I mean, that is really inspiring to hear it from you. That's really important to this, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it could be really great. And one of the things about all young bands is that they have to utilize the tools that they have around them.
Right.
And if you have a new tool that you can use to communicate with people about when you're playing and how and what shows you're doing, that's very powerful for you, and could be the difference between 10 people coming to the show and 150 people coming to the show, which changes the whole dynamic of the show and how your band can make enough money to play the next show and to buy some T-shirts so they can do the next show. So all those things are very, very interconnected.
Right.
And the goal is to get get some people to come to the show so you can enjoy the experience, and if people enjoy the experience, and play more shows.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And this is kind of a question coming from a fan of yours and what your band kind of stands for. It's very, very politically based, the messages you guys put forth. And so I just wanted your opinion on this. And it is, what are your personal views on Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump?
We're just working on some songs about Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah?
Today, actually, yeah. In the practice room, yeah. We're like, this guy is such a clown. We got to figure out how we can express how we feel about him.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting. But he is. The one thing that I've learned from watching Donald Trump in the last couple months is that he is a master of exploiting media, and he is very talented at that. He doesn't have any real policy issues, which is amazing. We were actually talking about this in the room practicing as well, that when Donald Trump wasn't in the debate, the other Republican candidates talked more about their policy issues, and the scariness, or the how scary their policies of people like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are is amazing, and hopefully none of those people will gain any power. But when Donald Trump's in the room, it's just a clown show, and they don't get to talk about how scary they really are.
Right.
But
so do you think
we're all in trouble.
Do you think he and himself is scary, or what do you think would happen if he became the president?
I think that, Donald Trump is a egomaniac. I don't think he'll listen to anybody else's opinion other than his own.
Exactly.
And his own is not necessarily the right opinion.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that all of us benefit when there's more people in the discussion.
Yeah.
And when you have one person who thinks they know the answer to the problem, that is always the worst possible situation. Exactly. When you have 100 people all talking about different ideas of a problem, you're much better at finding a good solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a person like Donald Trump is the worst possible type of person we could have for a president.
Right. Because that's what democracy is all about, the opinions of the people and the masses.
Absolutely. And, Donald Trump, he's amazing. He has been able to last this long by not saying anything except obnoxious things about other people, and there's no policy in anything that he says, or nothing. Right. When somebody says they're going to make America great again, that's like saying I'm going to fly to the moon. There's sure anything you want, but if there's no substance behind it, it is just as ridiculous a statement as I'm going to fly to the moon on angel wings. So, yeah, Donald Trump is a train wreck of a political candidate. I think he's a train wreck of a person, and I hope that he is not a real politician. It's funny because we've been talking to, or not a real candidate for president, but we've been talking to people from Europe, and they are astounded to find that Donald Trump is actually a real political candidate who could possibly be president. It's horrifying to everybody else around the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's surprising everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's very skilled at manipulating the media, and that may work. It's a scary time, I guess, 2016.
All right, Pat.
But Bernie Sanders is pretty amazing. He's got good ideas. He's got. I think he's a real threat to Hillary, and hopefully he. If it was him against Trump, I think he could beat Trump.
Yeah, that's very possible, but it's that he's got to get over Hillary first. I feel like,
Yeah,
which
yeah. Well,
it's definitely a
well,
competition. So we'll have to see what
yeah,
plays out.
yeah. The one thing that I've learned about you talk about democracy. I don't think that democracy necessarily gives us good leadership, but what it does, at least in the U.S., what it does do is it confirms that they are only in power for a short period of time.
Right.
And that is all we can ask for. As long as we have term limits, and people can only be president for a total of 8 years, then that's our only defense against evil people being in power.
Yeah.
So democracy doesn't necessarily do it, because we have elected some really bad people throughout our history, and a lot of other countries have as well. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they're gone after a period of time is the only thing that really protects us.
Right. And that's reassuring to know.
So yeah, so that's my opinion of Donald Trump. He's a clown show.
All right. Thanks, Pat. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this interview. It's really going to help me and everybody involved in this. So I really appreciate that again.
It's my pleasure, and please keep me informed as to how your progress is going with the app and the website. And if we can be of any help, we have very talented people here. If you have any questions about how music works or any of that stuff, we will be more than happy to help you out.
All right, thanks, Pat.
Yep, very good. Thank you.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That's Pat Thetic from Anti-Flag, and he's really helped us out to provide insights on this project. And if you haven't yet, check out Anti-Flag. They're a really awesome band. Pat's an amazing drummer, amazing guy. And that's about it for this one.